Many ghost photos can be easily debunked as photo manipulation or something as simple as double exposure. But not every ghost is extremely shy, and some creepy photos taken in known paranormal hotspots have captured images that cannot be explained. Number 5. The Tulip Staircase Spectre is probably the most famous ghost photograph that has not yet been debunked. The photograph was taken in the 1960s at the Queen's House in Greenwich, England, and appears to show at least one ghostly figure climbing the spiral staircase. The Queen's House itself isn't unfamiliar with paranormal sightings, but the Tulip Staircase photograph is the only evidence that's been captured of the ghostly goings-on. The photograph was taken by Reverend Ralph Hardy, who was visiting the house while on vacation from Canada. Since 1927, the building has housed the National Maritime Museum and has been open to the public. The Reverend was visiting with his wife, who had seen a photograph of the Tulip Staircase in a magazine. The staircase was already noteworthy as the first spiral staircase without a central support, and the photograph the Reverend's wife had seen was taken from the top looking down. She wanted to recreate the photo when the Hardys arrived, but they found the staircase was closed to the public. They could only look in from behind a barrier. Ralph took a photo from there and continued on with his visit, barely giving the staircase a second thought. When the couple arrived home and had their vacation pictures developed, they noticed something extremely unusual. It looked like something or someone dressed in a hooded cloak was climbing the stairs, gripping onto the banister with both hands. Others have said the main figure was actually holding on with only one hand and reaching up to a second figure, who the second hand belonged to. Either way, the couple were baffled by what they had captured. The museum photographer was contacted to see if he could explain the picture, and London's Ghost Club, one of the oldest paranormal societies in the world, even got involved. The Queen's House already had paranormal stories at this point. It had been built some 400 years ago, and in that time had served as everything from a royal residence to a hospital to a prison during the English Civil War. Reports of ghosts included a maid who was seen at the bottom of the staircase removing the mess she had made when she fell from the top and lost her life upon hitting the floor. Children singing and unexplained footsteps have also been reported. As recently as 2002, museum workers allegedly saw the ghost of a woman float from a balcony through one of the rooms. The photo itself was investigated by Kodak, who ruled out double exposure and other photo manipulation. The only way the image could have been produced was by someone on the stairs. However, even if someone had managed to get on the stairs in the strange outfit, museum workers tried to disprove the photo and were unable to recreate it, leaving the image unexplained and incredibly creepy. Number 4. Unlike other entries on this list, the backstory behind the location of this creepy photo is mysterious in itself. The picture was taken by a man named Reverend R.S. Blantz in 1959. Blantz had gone to Alice Springs, Australia, and was taking photos of the Corroboree Rock Park. At the time, the area was empty, and it was only when the photo was developed that he noticed a figure standing in the brush. The figure appears to be a woman, and her hands look like she's holding something to her face. Some have suggested it looks like she has binoculars, which has led to the figure's creepy name, the Watcher. Corroboree Rock, which is now a conservation reserve, is a strange rock formation that rises from the otherwise relatively flat land. The outcrop was originally laid down 800 million years ago when a salt lake occupied the area. Today, this part of Australia receives very little rainfall. The rock itself is very important to the Aboriginal people in the area, as it's said to be a high spiritual place. But the reason behind this importance is a closely guarded secret. Given the lack of rainfall in the area, it's unlikely to be a corroboree site, but some have suggested it's used as a storage site for sacred ceremonial objects. The area is supposed to be spiritually dangerous to women, children, and uninitiated men, and only senior males know the secret behind its importance. It's possible the person in the photo was the victim of this spiritual danger, and they're now tied to this land. Others have suggested the figure is actually male and more resembles an ancient South American priest. It's hard for us to know for sure, as when enhanced, the figure's head blends into the scenery behind it, but there's no denying the rest of the body stands out, even if it is translucent in places. The photo was sent to experts and skeptics, but double exposure and photo manipulation has been ruled out, leaving the image unexplained. Number 3. Not every ghost photo is taken in a haunted mansion or a creepy building. This picture, taken in 2000, was actually captured in a pizza shop in Utah. Godfather's Pizza in Ogden had been the home of paranormal activity for almost 20 years when it drew the attention of the Utah Paranormal Exploration and Research Team. According to the owner, the creepy things started happening on his second day. After the restaurant had closed for the day, the owner was cleaning up when the jukebox began to play. He hadn't interacted with it at all and went to see what was going on. It continued to play even when the power was shut off. The owner eventually unplugged the jukebox, but he still could hear the music even when the plug was in his hands. It was only the beginning, though. A number of full-body apparitions had been seen by workers and customers alike. Some only made one-off appearances, but there were 4 that made themselves known on multiple occasions: a man, a woman, and 2 boys. At least one of the spirits that supposedly resided in the building was a poltergeist of some sort. The owner claimed one day that the spirit threw 40 fluorescent light tubes across the room, one by one, leaving them smashed on the floor. Other paranormal activity included a tile that bulged 10 inches off the ground for no apparent reason. When it was examined, the concrete beneath was found to be unaffected. Faces and handprints have shown up in cookies. Unexplained whistling has been heard in the kitchen, and on one occasion, all the doors in the building started violently swinging and banging. It's understandable why the UPER were keen to investigate the site. While there, they noticed a number of strange occurrences, but the biggest piece of evidence came when Mary Barentine snapped this photo. Just before taking the image, the owner had claimed to have seen a white mist. The investigators didn't see the mist, but Mary pointed his camera toward where the owner was pointing and snapped the shot. In the mirror appears to be a small figure. When the image was enhanced, the details of the figure became more clear. He was stood at the end of the table and looked to be turning as if to face the investigators. Some sources claim the investigators later found evidence the building had been constructed on top of an old pauper's field, a graveyard for the poor. If so, the spirits could be those who were buried below. The restaurant has since closed down, and it's not known if the paranormal activity continued at the location. Number 2. Whether or not this building is actually haunted is open to debate, but there's no denying photos taken inside St. Thomas's Hospital in Stockport, England, are truly disturbing. Perhaps it's the lack of graffiti in interior photos that makes the images so eerie. As recently as 2004, the site was a place of healing, but it's now run down and being reclaimed by nature. The building, which dates back to the 1800s, has more than its fair share of horror stories attached to it. From being a workhouse with terrible conditions to becoming a psychiatric hospital with a dubious reputation. Today, there's said to be at least 2 ghosts that lurk within the building, and one was caught on camera in 2015. It was the spring of 2015 when a group of amateur ghost hunters went in to explore the building. Though it has been accessed by many urban explorers, the upper floors are off limits, and there's no functioning staircase to get up there. Despite knowing there could be no one upstairs, the group heard what sounded like footsteps and shuffling coming from above them. Some have suggested this was nothing more than pigeons, but the footsteps were allegedly loud enough for the group to rule that out. At one point, a member of the group named Jamie Lee Brown snapped a photo of her friend, who was walking towards an old elevator shaft. Almost immediately afterward, the noises from above became too much and the group fled the building. It's a good thing they didn't stay any longer, as the friend in the photo would have unknowingly walked right into the ghost of a doctor, if the image taken by Jamie Lee is to be believed. A strange figure appears to be stood in an elevator shaft. The bottom half of its body is unclear, and it appears to be wearing a white coat and face mask. Given the quality of the image, it's hard to say if this was a person or just a trick of the eye, with rubble forming the general shape that could be interpreted as a human. The group aren't the only ones to have noticed paranormal activity, though. Another supposed specter is a glowing nurse or a nun that was seen while the hospital was still in use, apparently seen shortly before the passing of a patient. The building has attracted the attention of paranormal TV shows and paranormal enthusiasts. Number 1. Even some places as innocent as a toy store are not immune to paranormal activity, as the workers and customers at a California Toys R Us found out in the 1970s. The store was built on the site of a former plantation in Sunnyvale and was in operation between 1970 and 2018. Almost immediately, the paranormal activity began. As could be expected, toys would fall from their shelves or appear to be thrown across the aisle. A number of women felt something or someone playing with their hair, and the taps in the women's bathroom would turn on and off by themselves. Some also reported the sound of someone whispering their name when no one was around. The store soon gained a reputation in the local community as being haunted, but it seemed like the ghost was relatively harmless, if a little creepy. It wasn't until the TV show That's Unbelievable featured the store that it was made famous internationally, and the ghost was given a name. A psychic named Sylvia Brown conducted a seance with some of the store's employees. Many cameras were set up, including capturing infrared images. During the seance, Sylvia quickly made contact with the ghost, who called himself Johan Johnny Johnson, an immigrant from Sweden who had worked on the plantation that had stood there in the late 1800s. According to Sylvia, he'd been in love with the daughter of the plantation owner, who he called Beth, and was waiting for her. She'd left to marry a rich lawyer, but Johnny had continued to work on the plantation until he accidentally struck himself with an axe and passed away. The story is dubious, given there's no record of Johnny Johnson, and the Beth he refers to was Elizabeth Murphy, who was actually married to a man named William Taffy, the son of a wealthy dry goods merchant. She never ran away, as Sylvia claimed. Even if the story was false, there's plenty of tragedy on the plantation, including a man named Fred Hoffman, who passed away while trying to fix the farm's water pump, which was situated next to a leaky gas tank. Fred's brother-in-law, who was Elizabeth's son, found his body at the bottom of a well. When he went down to try to collect him, he lit a match and was forced out of the well by the explosive, but he did survive. It could be Fred, who still wanders around the aisle. Whoever the ghost is, the infrared camera allegedly captured his image. During the seance, all in attendance were sitting down, but in one photograph, a man could be seen standing behind the group, looking down at him. No other cameras captured this man. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.